Good morning, good morning. It's wonderful to be with you this morning. Good morning, Chris.
There is a place in my heart where I can find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here.
See with new eyes, allow and unfold. Embrace and let go. Trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart.
No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. There's so much more when we unite. You are welcome here.
around you. All that you feel, all that you know,
Let it go.
Welcome
To love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are
welcome here.
Yes, you are welcome here. Good morning, good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Idella Veal, and I proudly serve as a licensed practitioner here at the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We are a center that engages and educates the seeker on their spiritual path. As a member of the global movement Centers for Spiritual Living, our mission is to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence, and our vision is a world that works for everyone. We are grateful for your presence this morning. Now it is time for our call to service. So if you would, please join me as we say our call to service. How I choose to think creates my personal experience. Therefore, I choose to think affirmatively. I choose to speak affirmatively. I choose to live affirmatively. Not only is this my right, it is my responsibility as a conscious being. I allow myself to be guided, used, and available for the reawakening of everyone's magnificence. The moment is now, and I say yes. And so it is. Now it is time for our announcements. So, I'd like to inform you of all the wonderful things that are happening here at the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, where you belong. I'm excited to tell you about the opportunities to connect, grow, serve, and give at our center. We would like to thank each and every one of you for faithfully giving to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. To find ways to give, visit our digital program to see the information on the screen. We will do our grateful giving later in the service. Now, take a deeper dive into your spiritual life every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by joining the Adult Study. This opportunity is offered both in person and by Zoom. Reverend Dr. Ursula Lentini offers a twin heart meditation on Tuesday evenings at 7 Eastern Standard Time on Zoom. Please join her. Living the Science of Mind with Reverend Susan Zoller is held every Wednesday, starting at 7 on Zoom. Whether you've been in this teaching for years or you're just beginning your journey, this gathering is for you as we grow together by applying the teaching of our daily living. The Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta Writers Group will have their monthly meeting on January 27th at 6:30 on Zoom. Everyone is welcome. To register for each of these opportunities, please visit our website at SLCA.com. We will be collecting diapers and baby wipes for Toco Hills Community Alliance the entire month of January. All sizes are appreciated, but sizes 4, 5, 6, and 7 are needed the most. SLCA is joining together with the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta for a winter clothing drive to benefit the International Rescue Committee Atlanta, which is the IRC, and 3 other nonprofits have already resettled approximately 750 Afghans. And according to a recent AJC article, a total of 1,750 is expected to arrive by the end of February, in addition to other nationalities. Thanks to those regular ones who always contribute to our collection drive. If you haven't done so in the past, now's the time. The drive will take place from 2 to 4 on Sunday, January the 30th at SLCA. Please visit your digital program or our information wall in the lobby for a list of items that are needed. Practitioners are available this morning for prayer after the service, online and on chat. So for those of you who are needing treatment, please make sure that you've connected with your practitioner. Thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate your presence. It is now time for affirmative prayer. So if you would join me by being in a posture of receiving. Make sure wherever you are, your legs are uncrossed, your hands are open in a receptive mode, and your heart is open to receive. Let's take in a couple of deep breaths. Take in a deep breath, inhale. Exhale. Let's do it again. Take in a deep breath, inhale. And exhale. It's a power of spirit. Let's allow that power, that vibration, to move through our bodies from head to toe, bringing us in more alignment with spirit. The power of the breath is so important in aligning. I'll say this prayer in first person, and all that registers for you, please receive it as your own. This is what I know. That God is all there is, everywhere, all knowing and all powerful. God is love, God is joy, God is divine well-being. God is prosperity. God is wholeness. And I allow this forever evolving power to move in and through and all around me. I invite the presence now. I know that I am one with this forever evolving power of oneness and allness. and allow its presence in its fullest to flow through every cell, every organ, every drop of blood in my body. I know that I came to this earth, to this world, fully equipped from head to toe to live in a world of joy, to live in a world of wholeness, to live in a world of love, prosperity. I receive that because that is my inheritance, like everyone else that walks this planet. But it is up to me to know in every moment of my life on this earth that I am worthy and deserving of this. This is a given. There should never be any question about that whatsoever. So I'm aware that my thinking is the key here. The thoughts that I emanate out into the universe. Thoughts are powerful. Thoughts resonate energy. And I'm aware, and all of us aware, that we maintain these thoughts and the feelings that we deserve the best in life. We give thanks and praise for our community. We send out blessings to our leaders all over the world, all over our country, our local leaders, to do the right thing, to know that we're all in this together. We're all equal, and justice prevails for all in each and every one of us. We give thanks for the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We give thanks for our leadership here, our Reverend David, Shannon, our director, all of our practitioners, the board, and everyone that is involved in the production and the going forth of our center. We thank you, all of our participants. We thank you for everyone that is here today. We all belong. So, with unwavering faith and absolute trust in the law that always says yes, I release these truths knowing it is so, all is well, as we say together, and so it is.
With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. As I open and allow, I know right here and now, I create a world where wonders never cease. With every The 23-year-old poet Amanda Gorham, whose reading of her own The Hill We Climb at President Joe Biden's inauguration made her an international sensation. She recently posted a new work and accompanying video on Instagram to mark the end of 2021. Poets rarely enjoy the kind of attention she received in 2021, but in an email to the Associated Press, she reflected less on her own success than on the state of the country. Gorman wrote that the chaos and the instability of the past year had made her reject the idea of going back to normal and instead fight to move beyond it. She mentioned Maya Angelou's poem, Human Family, and added, "To be a family, a country, doesn't necessitate that we be the same or agree on everything, only that we continue to try to see the best in each other and move forward into a shared future. Whether we like it or not, we are in this together." Gorman offered an alliterative response when asked what inspired New Day's lyric, telling the Associated Press that she wanted to write a lyric to honor the hardships, the hurt, hope, and healing of 2021 while also hearkening the potential of 2022. New Day's lyric is a 5-stanza, 48-line resolution with themes of struggle and healing, known to admirers of The Hill We Climb and of her best-selling collection, Call Us What We Carry, which came out in early December. So to read the poem this morning is Chris Adams, a member of our creative arts team. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. New Day's lyric by Amanda Gorman. May this be the day we come together. Mourning we come to mend, withered we come to weather. Torn we come to tend, battered we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. We steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal. Even if we never get back to normal, someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps to let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we are now awake. Those moments we miss are now these moments we make, the moments we meet in our hearts. Once all together beaten, now all together beat. Come, look with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric. In our hearts we hear it. For old anxiety, my dear, for old anxiety. Be bold, saying time this year. Be bold, saying time, for when you honor yesterday, tomorrow ye will find. Know what we fought need not be forgot, nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome.
Happy Sunday and namaste, beloveds, at the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, where my beloved brother and friend, the Reverend Dr. David Alexander, is your wonderful leader. I think you are so very fortunate to have one of the preeminent thinkers and leaders and activists in our movement. And I consider your spiritual community a flagship center within our entire New Thought movement. So it's an honor to be with you. I bring you greetings from your sister community here in the state capital of California, Unity of Sacramento International Spiritual Center. I want you to know that we will always keep the porch light on for you so that whenever you're in this part of town, you are among friends and indeed you belong. We come together today on the occasion of the national celebration of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's a time where we get a chance to consciously reflect on the impact that his life and his work, his ministry, and the movement that he led made on our individual lives, made on the life of this society, and what lingering instructions are here for us today in order to build upon the foundation that was laid by this truly phenomenon in human history. And so this morning, I want you to think with me on these important two words: courageous compassion. Courageous compassion. Just want you to hold those two words in your heart, in your soul, as we take just a few minutes to be with Dr. King, be with the movement that he led, and allow it to affect us right here and right now. Now, let me begin by prefacing this message today. Because of the times in which we are living, because of the urgency of the moment, because you are under very mature spiritual leadership in Atlanta, I believe that I can be with you today and demystify. In fact, I can speak to you straight about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. of my understanding. We can step away from the Santa classification of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., if it's all right with you. So what that may mean for us this morning is that I may afflict the comfortable. I'm certain I will not comfort the afflicted this morning. I didn't come to comfort the afflicted in terms of the message, but if we're going to have a study and a reflection and a looking back at who Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is and was, I'd like for us to do so with our feet firmly rooted in reality. That here was a soul on assignment who somewhere along the way came fully alive. And what do I mean by came fully alive? He was a man who caught fire with his vision, his mission, his very purpose for being, and he lost the fear of death. And very few of us can lay claim to something so profound as to lose the fear of death. And this is what makes him phenomenal. This is what makes his impact on the world tremendously credible. That he was someone who was guided by a purpose that was greater than himself, and he completely gave voice to that which he was meant and sent to do in the face of certain danger. And that danger being structural racism and its subsequent violence in the United States of America. What were his accomplishments? His accomplishments were being able to mobilize and inspire individuals who heretofore had not found an on-ramp into the freedom and liberation struggle in the United States through creative, direct action and protest. Perhaps the most profound moment was the economic protest of the Montgomery bus boycott. We like to take ourselves to the great oratory that is shared about Dr. King with the I Have a Dream speech, pardon me. We like to take ourselves to that point and celebrate that. And that is a wonderful moment, but I want you to see what happens to a soul who has lost the fear of dying because he lives inside of different questions. The organizing and the cooperating with dismantling an unjust form of structural racism, which was the Jim Crow policy of being on a bus and having to experience the humility of walking to the back of the bus on the basis of skin color. That his commitment and those who moved with him, their commitment to challenging an unjust system validated their human dignity through a creative campaign of massive withdrawal. And of course, we know the rest of the story. The rest of the story history was made when, after over 100 days, they forced the Montgomery busing system to abolish Jim Crow in busing and therefore integrate the busing system. Now, to get to the point of the matter, in order for you and I to get the full benefit of what King's contribution was, there is the nature of the question in which Dr. King lived, because to lose the fear of dying means that you have found something so profound for which you are willing to live and devote your life, that living becomes mandatory and dying becomes optional. He had a mandate to live because he'd found questions that compelled him into his full personhood. Here are the questions. Amidst the dangerous environment that he found himself in, the risk to his life, the risks to his family's life, the risks to people who he lived, worked, and worshiped with and loved very deeply, his parents, the risks that he lived with. He lived with different questions. And the question was not the selfish question that you and I, who have come to appreciate the privileges and the luxuries of American life. Dr. King lived in these two powerful questions. In the face of all the risk, in the face of all of the challenge, in the face of certainty of violence, they transcended a selfish focus on only himself. He didn't ask the question, what will happen to me if I get involved, if I am engaged? He asked the question, what will happen to them if I don't? What will happen to them if I don't? What will happen to an entire people? What will happen to the fabric of American society? What will happen to civilization itself if I don't engage in the liberation, the freedom, and the human dignity of those who are suffering? He lived in a larger question and therefore became fully awakened to his purpose. Dr. King was very concerned. He had some challenges. And some of those challenges were with those individuals who could not get beyond the comforts and conveniences for which they had become accustomed, but philosophically, they were in agreement. They were supportive, but there was no willingness to go beyond a philosophical cheerleading of sorts. He particularly addressed his concerns to whom he referred to as the white moderate. And this is where we see Dr. King seeking to appeal to that place of compassion and common humanity with his clergy brethren who were white at the time and white forever, actually, when he penned the letter from a Birmingham city jail. I want to just quote a little bit from it. These are the words of Dr. King that weren't mentioned in the I Have a Dream speech, but words that I think are so relevant for right now. He says, I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the White Citizens Council or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with you I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. This is Dr. King's response to his white clergymen in Birmingham who felt that he was moving too fast. Who felt that we get you, bro. We're with you, bro. But why don't you slow it down? Why don't you tone down the rhetoric? Why don't you take the campaign a little bit slower? And he was seeking to appeal to their sense of neutrality, letting them know that neutrality is in action, and in action in the face of the dangerous consequences for suffering people. That neutrality then becomes a form of complicitness or violence itself. We look to the master teacher who most beautifully embodied the Christ consciousness, Jesus, when he was found in and among those who were suffering in any way. I love the way the ancient text speaks of him. And here's what it says. He was moved with compassion. He was moved with compassion. I love that phrase. I love that phrase because that very phrase contains within it both the ontological state of being that he held. He was filled with a sense of deep love and connectedness to the totality of the situation, did not see himself apart from the situation, saw himself as a part of the situation, and as one. His compassion led him to move with right action. That we are living in a time where we have absolutely, positively, 100% have witnessed firsthand what happens when we recoil to the safety and the comfort of our homes and beautiful lifestyles that we have for ourselves and participate through spectating. We see what has happened in our society because of our spectatorship. But when we become fully alive, when we become so clear of our oneness, when we become so filled with the love of God, when we become so in tune with our inseparability from all of humanity itself, whether you are Black or white, gay or straight, whether you immigrated to these lands or you were native born, whoever you are, when you come into this awareness of our oneness, then you can agree with Dr. King. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Let me be honest with you. Let me put some skin in the game. Let me tell you, I lived in Atlanta for a time as a student at Morehouse College. And even after graduation, spent time living there. I came to Atlanta with the sole purpose and intention of studying at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s alma mater. And I did. And I had some of the best mentoring and best teaching and best exposure to his great thought, philosophy, and the mentors that mentored him. I had the best of that. And I always saw myself as following in Dr. King's footsteps in some ways. However, I never would have placed myself in the same world in which Dr. King had lived. I never imagined in following in his footsteps, I never imagined that I would actually be living in a world and in a time so similar to Dr. King over half a century since his assassination. And so I had hoped that my career would be more on the side of building beloved communities and ensuring that that we could take steps forward in the possibilities with what happens when people of all different races and cultures and backgrounds come together. I always dreamt that I would be in a situation where I would be in a post sort of racial reality, and that I would be doing the sort of building from this higher state where the world had come to a place of readiness. I didn't know that I too would one day be on the front lines. I didn't know that I too would one day be arrested. I didn't know that I too would be calling home and saying to my wife, call the attorney and keep the porch light on, and this may be a long night. I didn't know that. I believed that the world would have come so much further along. But here's what I did come to realize, is that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who are willing to walk in the way of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are individuals who subscribe to a philosophy called Ubuntu. It is something impressed upon their consciousness. Now, it's very much like the philosophy of Jesus, but it happens to be an African philosophy. And here's what this philosophy says: I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. And it is in the embodying this great idea that our lives are interconnected, that our destiny is a shared destiny. There is one humanity, the evolution of which I too must take part in. There are no vacations from the evolutionary journey of our common and collective humanity. What affects one ultimately affects all. The invitation today is to be moved. Be moved. Be moved. Yes, New Thought people, we need you to be affected by what is happening so that you come to a place of right thought, and that right thought leads to right action. Right thought leads to right action. Be moved. Treat, and move your feet. It may not look like what I do. You may not be on a front line campaign in different parts of the country. That may not be yours to do. But there is a role that we each get to play in the evolutionary story of our common humanity. Be moved to dismantle the structures, the systemic structures that serve as barriers to our collective freedom. Well, you say, well, it's not really my situation. The fact is that, it doesn't hit me as hard. Black and brown people are really the ones most affected. And so if I do help, I'm helping them out. I'm helping them out. And that's the mindset. That's often the mindset. And I challenge you then to elevate your ethos, because that is an adolescent way to participate in the evolutionary story of our common humanity. And this is what Dr. King knew, and this is what he came alive with. He had his great aha with the recognition that I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are wrapped up in an inextricable web of mutuality. He understood this, and this great awakening compelled him to function with a high love ethic. And this high love ethic inspired the world and is still inspiring us here and now. And so now that we've found love, what are we going to do with it? Let this love that you have press you out of the safety of a counterfeit reality imposed by fear. Let it press you out into right action. Recently, the verdict in the Ahmaud Arbery case was read. And the judge, Timothy Walmsley, who was charged with sentencing the individuals who murdered Ahmaud Arbery right there in your backyard. he did something so profound. He did something so daring. He did something that pressed humanity a percentile further along. In his sentencing, as he was making his remarks, he asked everyone to experience 1 minute of being in Ahmaud Arbery's shoes by asking everyone to take 1 minute of silence. And he said that this 1 minute of silence was a fraction of the time that Ahmaud Arbery was running in horror for his life, which was 5 minutes. And so he stopped the nation to sit and to imagine being in Ahmaud Arbery's shoes for 1 minute, running in horror. Let's drop into that place. Ask ourselves, what gets moved inside of us when we are a witness to human suffering? What gets moved inside of us if we were to sit and exchange places with the marginalized and the oppressed? What gets moved inside of us if we are to sit just for a minute with the realization that they too are me? I hope your answer is that you're moved closer and closer to a courageous compassion that compels you to come alive and take your place right there in Atlanta. You come alive and honor Dr. King by becoming a way shower. Show us what justice looks like through your act of compassion. Show us what courage looks like through your act of selflessness. Show us what freedom feels like through your act of generosity. I know it sounds cliche, but we are still the ones we've been looking for. Let's turn within for a moment. Loving presence, we are so very grateful for the call of the times. We're so very grateful to be unique emanations of the one, the only one, that presence that is never in absence. We are so grateful to more and more become consciously aware of our inseparability from this single source, and that it is more and more becoming enlarged in our awareness that we are here to bring forth the light of truth, the light of joy, the light of love, wherever our feet may trod. We give thanks for the example that was set by the way shower, Martin Luther King Jr. And we accept the call and the commission. We accept the call and the commission to go and do likewise. Equip us, inspire us, surround us with an unprecedented faith to envision a world that works for all. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen. Namaste, beloveds. Thank you for letting me be with you. Happy King Day.
Thank you for choosing the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta as part of your celebration. We welcome each of you in need of prayer. As we enter our time of grateful giving, we want to thank each of you that faithfully gives to SLCA. It is because of your contributions that we can continue to spread our message of oneness. If you were inspired by this message today, please consider becoming a recurring pledger or give what is on your heart today. You can conveniently give on our website or text your gift to 404-800-9467. So at this time, would you please join me in saying our grateful giving affirmations? I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is.
Thank you, Idella.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the place where our God gladly met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine know beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on to victory.